Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking into the disappearance of Rico Harris. I couldn't find anything on the Charlie Project or Reddit, so we're going to start with Wikipedia. And it said he was born May 19th, 1977, and he disappeared October 10th, 2014. He's an American former professional basketball player, a high school standout in his native Southern California. He later led Los Angeles City College, LACC, to its first state junior college title in 1997. After his college career, he played for some international basketball league teams and later with the Harlem Globetrotters. The oldest of four children born to a former Idaho State star and his young wife, he had given up basketball before returning to it for his last 2 years at Temple City High School. He soon became a star player himself, as well as a top college prospect, likened by those who saw him to play to Lamar Odom. He had the opportunity to play for several NCAA Division basketball programs, but never did due to a combination of academic and personal difficulties. He then chose to attend Cal State Northridge despite interest from much higher profile colleges and the NBA, a decision for which he was sharply criticized since it was seen as limiting his chances of reaching the NBA. Harris ended his season at Northridge after being suspended twice for violation of team rules. He eventually made his way to the Globetrotters, but injuries from a 2000 assault forced him to quit after 1 month. After leaving basketball, the alcoholism that had begun to manifest itself during his college career intensified, and Harris became addicted to illegal drugs as well. He was arrested many times before he was able to recover from his addictions in 2007. By October 2014, Harris had relocated to Seattle with a longtime girlfriend and had applied for a job there. He never arrived back there while returning from a trip to his mother's home in Alhambra to complete the move. He was last heard from when he left a message for his girlfriend. The call was traced to the Sacramento area, and his abandoned car was found in a Yolo County park several days later. There were some possible sightings up to a week afterwards, but none have ever been confirmed beyond a cell phone video the night of his disappearance, and extensive searches since have failed to find any trace of him in the area. His disappearance has been featured on an episode of the Investigation Discovery series Disappeared. I'd be interested to see that. Harris was the first son born to Henry Harris, a former star forward for Idaho State, who, after his college years in the mid-1970s, was playing in a semi-professional league in LA when he met Margaret Fernandez, then 17. She gave birth to Rico, the first of the couple's four children, in 1977. Afterwards, they moved to Oregon, where Henry had been offered a job. Henry Harris was, for the most of the time, a loving husband, but occasionally he would turn violent and abusive. They moved back to LA shortly afterwards and had three more children. Henry would awfully verbally and physically abuse his children, especially Rico. Despite that, Rico deeply craved his father's affection and approval into his adulthood. Margaret eventually left her husband, taking the children with her as she moved to Alhambra, the suburb where she had grown up. Rico often held the family together while Margaret worked full-time, although she later said she felt her oldest was born to play basketball. By the age of 15, he had given it up despite his size and was considering becoming an actor. To that end, he and a friend attended Hollywood High School, a long trip from their homes. After a year, Rico changed his mind about basketball and returned to the court. Despite the minimal contact he had with his father since his parents' divorce, he used his father's Temple City address to enroll in high school there for his junior year. For most of his teens to 20s, Harris was praised for his NBA-level potential. The pinnacle of his playing career, however, would be the 1996-1997 season, when he was the MVP of the state community college tournament and led his team to the state championship. He only played one season for a division team, however, and despite considerable interest from NBA teams, never came close to signing with them. And then it talks about his high school He was 6'8", 215 pounds, was an immediate sensation on the basketball court. His presence on the team transformed the previous, and then it goes on. It talks about how he was shy. He emulated Magic Johnson's style of play. After meeting a girlfriend whose academically inclined family helped him with his studying, he improved both socially and academically and got a 3.0 grade point average. So, yeah, it talks more about that. And then it talks about his, and you could pause it and read it if you like. I don't want to read it all. And then it talks about his college and LA City College. And like I said, you can stop there and read more about that. So, yeah, it talks about him. There's a lot of personal stuff in there. His drinking increased as the season wore on, leading to social isolation and costing him his relationship. And then it talks about Cal State, Northridge, and what that was like. Then it talks about post-college and his addiction and his recovery. And like I said, you can pause this and read it. And so then it gets to the disappearance. Converting their long-distance relationship to a live-in one caused some friction between Song and Harris as the two began merging their lives. Harris nevertheless continued with his plans to move on with his life in a new city. He exchanged his California driver's license for a Washington-issued one. He was able to arrange a job interview for a position as a property appraiser. Oh, that's a good job. A job that would have meant much to him as it would have been the first time he held a skilled position unrelated to his athletic ability. Before that, however, he decided he needed to return to Alhambra and visit his mother and brother one more time. Song believes his intent was to talk with them and reach some closure for the difficult events of his childhood. I think he realized some things and he wanted to talk to his mother, she later told a reporter. He wanted her to trust him and trust us and believe in our relationship. Lara spoke with him by phone during his drive to Southern California. He says Rico was upbeat, hoping to marry Song and starting a family with her. He seemed to have his head together, he recalls. However, his visit with his family on October 9th was brief. He took one of his brothers out to eat and gave him a new cell phone as a gift, then returned to his mother's home to speak with her alone privately. Fernandez does not believe her son got what he was hoping out of the conversation. Shortly after midnight, he decided to return, taking with him a few more personal belongings. His job interview was scheduled for the next day in Seattle. Leaving Alhambra, he drove north on Interstate 5. Records show that he stopped in Lodi, 40 miles south of Sacramento, to get gas. At 10:45 on October 10th, he called Song from north of Sacramento and left a message saying he was going up into the mountains to rest since he had not slept much since leaving Seattle. At 11:15, he turned the phone off. No one has heard from Harris or positively identified him since then. So he just went up there to take a nap. So Song called Fernandez when Harris failed to return to Seattle when expected, recalling that he had once disappeared for a few hours to San Diego. They decided to wait and see if he would return on his own. By October 14th, several days after he had missed the job interview, they realized he was not going to do so, or that something had gone wrong, and reported him missing to the Alhambra police. That afternoon, a Yolo County deputy sheriff patrolling along the stretch of California State Route 16 saw a black Nissan Maxima sedan in a county parking lot for the second straight day. He looked inside and saw CDs, credit cards, and various papers scattered around. The car had not been reported stolen, so his superiors contacted the Alhambra police when they found out who it was registered, and the officers there informed Fernandez that it had been found but not her son. A search of the surrounding terrain of Cache Creek Canyon began shortly afterward. Search and rescue teams began looking over the lightly forested terrain surrounding the stream. They were assisted by teams on all-terrain vehicles and helicopters. An airplane flew over the area, and search dogs were brought in as well. The area within a 5-mile radius of the parking lot was covered, as well as 27 miles of Route 16 through the canyon. But after 3 days, the searchers, they found nothing. And it seems like he's a pretty big guy, and they have that thermographic camera. They would find something if he was there. Many were incredulous. Rico at that time had reached his full adult height of 6 foot 9 inches and weighed 300 pounds, reflecting the less active years since the end of his basketball career. They could not imagine how such a large person could have because he's not going to walk off. Surely disappeared so completely. When Harris' description was circulated in the area, a few sightings subsequent to October 10th were reported. One passerby along Route 16 reported seeing a man who fit his description walking along the road at 5:30 on October 11th, while another motorist believed he had seen him sitting on a guardrail overlooking the creek near the parking lot. Harris' car was towed away and searched. It was out of gas and the battery was nearly dead. Why would it be out of gas? And why would the battery be nearly dead? That means he had taken a nap and then turned the car back on and was about to leave, and the car was running, right? The car had to have been running for the car to run out of gas and for the battery to be nearly dead. So that means that maybe the car ran out, like he turned the car on like he was going to leave and something happened. Yeah, and then the car must have run out of gas and then shut itself off if the battery was nearly dead. That's weird because he's not going to sleep with the car on. He's going to turn the car off to sleep. He had to have turned the car. He either got there, yeah, I don't know if he ever even went to sleep. Because he either pulled in, he wasn't sleeping yet, and the car was still running when he got there, or he turned it on to leave. And that's weird because it's out of gas and the battery's dead. So that's weird. Investigators found Harris' wallet and all of his credit cards save one, a Discover card, on which no charges have been made since Harris vanished. Wouldn't his wallet be in his pocket? Everybody puts their wallet in their pockets. He'd also taken his phone and driver's license. Detectives also found 2 plastic bottles, one mostly full of some type of hard liquor and the other empty but smelling strongly of the same beverage. On October 18th, 8 days after Harris' last voicemail message, another sighting was reported. A man who had driven past the parking lot where the Nissan had been told police he saw a large man wearing light-colored pants similar to those Harris had been wearing when he left his mother's house early that morning. The next day, a trail of fresh foot impressions left by size 18 sneakers consistent with those Harris wore were found leading from the parking lot to the creek near where the Nissan had been parked. Investigators were also able to find Harris' backpack left by the side of the road about 1,500 feet from the guardrail he was reported to have been sitting on the morning after his last phone call. In it, they found his phone, the charger, and some other items not considered relevant to Harris' whereabouts. The phone contained pictures of the creek and some selfies, including one in which Harris was standing in front of a sign welcoming drivers to Yolo County, striking a playful pose. There were also some videos apparently taken unintentionally showing Harris singing along to music playing in his car and casually flinging CDs around the passenger compartment. They were time-stamped the night of October 10th, demonstrating that Harris had been alive in his car at that time. On October 22nd, the sheriff's office announced it was scaling back the search. Divers were called in to search nearby sections of the creek but found nothing. The investigation is continued. In 2016, the Investigation Discovery Channel Disappeared devoted a segment to the case. Dean Nyland, the detective working the case for the sheriff's office, has ruled out the possibility of foul play. See, there's no way I'd rule out that possibility because He's not going to walk that far. He's not somebody who likes to walk. He's not going to go hiking, right? Is he somebody that's going to go take off and go hiking? And I don't think so. I don't think so because he just wanted to take a nap and go get his stuff done. That's odd. And his battery's dead and he's out of gas. And, he might have walked to look at the creek and take some pictures, but then he would have walked back. Yeah, I don't know. 1,500 feet? I don't know. Yeah, I think something's odd. He's not going to walk so far away from the car that he gets lost. That's just not going to happen. I find that really hard to believe. The photos and video on Harris's phone suggest he came to Yolo County voluntarily and alone. No evidence of any kind of a struggle was found in or near the car. His backpack and phone also do not show any signs that they were taken forcibly. Nyland believes Harris may have left them where they were found himself, either accidentally or on purpose, to avoid being tracked via phone. That doesn't make any sense. Why he wouldn't do that? That's crazy. Nyland believes Harris may have made a wrong turn after getting gas and followed the road up into the hills of Yolo County. Seeing the parking lot, he may have decided to take a nap before driving further. When Harris woke up later that day, Nyland believes the unresolved issues from his past came into play, and he may have decided not to continue to Seattle just yet. Yeah, no, I don't think so. That's really weird that he said he was going to drive up there to take a nap, and then he just is gone. And the car is dead. The car's out of gas and the battery's dead. Wow, and he's been missing for a long time, since 1977. And nobody's found him. That's crazy. And there's some pictures of him. Wow, I wonder what happened to him. And this is Reddit. What happened to Rico Harris? Let's see. It says background. Rico was once a promised basketball star in his days at LA Community College. Final trip. He was in a long-distance relationship with a woman in Seattle. He was in the process of moving in with her there, and he had a job interview lined up in Seattle as a property appraiser. That's a really good job. A professional, non-athletic opportunity he was supposedly excited about. But first he went to visit his family, and then it talks about that. So, yeah, 17-hour drive to Seattle. His job interview was scheduling for the following day at 11th. I don't know if he's going to make that. He drove north on I-5. Investigators determined he purchased gas about 40 miles south of Sacramento. At 10:45, he called his girlfriend and left a message saying he's going into the mountains to rest at 11:15 a.m. Let's see. He turned his phone off and no one has heard from him since. That's weird. His family and girlfriend waited until October 14th to report him missing. That same day, they found his car. They began searching the area. They searched the creek. They used ATVs, helicopter, thermographic camera, and eventually divers, and he just wasn't found. And then the motorists said they saw somebody fitting his description in the area. So I don't know. Walking along the road. The other one said he's sitting on the guardrail. Harris' phone and his charger were in his backpack. Yeah, I could see him sitting over there looking, but I don't see him walking and taking off with a backpack and just leaving this stuff. That doesn't make sense. The case interests me because I have my own self-reflective moments in the woods of Northern California. I can see how sitting along a creek side can lead to some serious revelations. The most obvious theory, in my opinion, is that Harris died in the woods, but I don't see him going off into the woods. I don't think so. Yeah, 'cause see, he didn't have any camping gear or supplies or anything. Why would he go hiking? The lead investigator doesn't think Harris is in the woods, though. So, yeah. But, I don't know. And this one says, I did a little online searching, but not much for long. I don't recall getting the same feeling I did while reading this post. I didn't like the way Mom stated that he'd been looking for closure, but she didn't think he got what he was looking for. Assuming that's in fact true, it reminds me of my own personal issues. I don't know. The jumper cables makes me wonder if there was battery issues before he left the car. But even if there were battery issues, why is it out of gas? It seems like the car had been left running or something. That's strange. That to me that suggests foul play if the car's just runs till it runs out of gas and then the battery's almost dead. That meant the car had a lot of gas in it when it ran and ran out of gas and the battery died. So yeah, and this one says they have a hard time believing that a guy 6'9" is blending in somewhere. So I don't know. Yeah, now you can pause this and read it. Oh, hold on, because I skipped through pretty quick. I will scroll down and pause it here and there. So if you want to pause it and read the stuff, you can. Because I don't want to read it all. I can't wrap my head around the fact that it's parked there. He's just going to take a nap. Even if he woke up and sat and looked at the creek. But that doesn't mean he's going to take off hiking in the woods and disappear. I find that hard to believe. I don't know what his backpack was doing. It sounds like somebody planted his backpack there maybe to make it look like he went. Because if he had been walking somewhere and he had his phone and everything in the backpack and he would have taken it with him and not just left it sitting there. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That sounds like foul play to me. So yeah, I don't know. And there's not much on there, but the whole it being out of gas and the battery being almost dead freaks me out. And this one says his story disappeared on Monday, May 23rd, 2016. He went missing on October 10th, 2014. He had a lot to look forward to as moving from LA to Seattle to move in with his fiance and start a family. This not just a job opportunity, but a really good job opportunity. That's an excellent job. He was a big guy, 6'9", 320 pounds, and at one point was aspiring to be a professional basketball player. Um, so yeah, he met his fiancee in 2012 while he was a security manager. Even though she lived in Seattle, they made it work. In 2014, he moved into her townhouse and they started making wedding plans. Jennifer says the transition was difficult for Rico because he did not have a job and stated it did not feel like his home. He didn't even unpack his boxes for a week, but things started to turn around. He got a temporary job selling timeshares. On October 10th, Rico had a meeting about making this job a full-time permanent job. Rico seemed to make a complete 180. Jennifer said he was so excited for the future. As October 10th came and went, Rico never shows up for the meeting. Rico had left Seattle October 8th, upset, and went to go back to LA to finish some odds and ends. He didn't even tell his girlfriend that he was driving back. There was some tension, but his plan was to be able to be back in Seattle for his important meeting. When he got back to LA to his mom's, he had been awake for 30 hours. His mom knew something wasn't right. His mom felt him being distant. She encouraged him to sleep. That night, Rico had been awake for 40 hours. He heads up to the 5 freeway and starts the 1,000-mile journey north. His mother and Jennifer were concerned because he had a long way ahead of him and didn't rest up. Rico kept in touch with his mother and Jennifer throughout his journey. It was about 3:30 in the morning that Rico tells Jennifer on the phone he is tired and wants to go to the mountains and rest. Jennifer suggests maybe a rest stop is safer due to the winding roads of the mountains. 4 hours go by, and after a little rest, Jennifer calls Rico around 8 a.m. He's eating and then stopping for gas. She said he sounded exhausted. He also calls his mom too and checks in. About 2 hours later, Jennifer gets a text from Rico says, "I'm doing well, I love you." That would be the last time she has any contact with him. Jennifer starts getting worried about 7 p.m. and she has not heard from him since that morning. She tried to call him, but it kept ringing. She thought maybe he had no signal. That's not like him. She calls his mom and tells her she's worried. They file a missing persons report. It's not like Rico to do this, not call. A few days later, the police knock on Rico's mother's door saying they found the vehicle. And it said what brought him so far out of his way. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Because maybe he fell asleep in the car. And the battery being dead and no gas. That's so strange. Because yeah, I don't think he would have stayed awake for much longer. And then drinking a little bit would have helped him be able to sleep. So I wonder if somebody didn't get in the car or pull a gun on him and then do something and then drive the car there to make it look like something, because that just doesn't seem right. And probably send him on a wild goose chase. So police obtain cell phone records to see where his phone pings. They find it pinging in the Redwood Valley area, 7580 northwest from his car. So police call everyone in the Redwood Valley area and leave messages. One does call back. It's a man, and he has Rico's phone. He tells police how he obtained the phone in the first place. He, his wife, and grandson were driving along the road near the lower site when they spot a black backpack on the side of the road. They pull over and look around down the creek, calling for someone to answer. No one does, so they took the backpack with them. When police obtained the backpack, they looked inside and found jumper cables. Weird. Why are they in his backpack and not in his trunk? His mom said that Rico owned jumper cables, but they were always in his trunk. Why was his backpack there? Jennifer says he always carried around like a purse. But with jumper cables in it? After carefully looking into in the phone, they found a video of him taken at the lower site. It seems he inadvertently took a video of himself. He was singing, ripping up papers, looking at his visor mirror, and tossing CDs around. Well, now police know his car looked ransacked, but people say they saw him Sunday, October 12th, a day or two after he went missing. The people who had seen him said he was sitting on a guardrail, presumably where his backpack was found. Another couple stated they saw him by his vehicle and he looked confused. This was the same day his backpack was found abandoned 3 miles from his car. See, I don't know, that's strange. Prior to the move to Seattle, his fiancée says he did not seem like himself when she flew to LA to see him. His room was a disaster and he seemed distant and withdrawn. Rico came clean and said he relapsed after 6 years of sobriety. Rico also confided in his friend that he was struggling but wanted to get it together. 1 week after he disappeared, there's a break in the case. A witness saw what met the description of Rico walking near the lower site. Where has he been all week? Did he return from getting a ride dropped? Search dogs were sent out. They favored the creek, but nothing was found. So, who knows what happened? That's really strange. I don't know. I don't know. That's really sad. You think, though, that they would have found him. Maybe he fell asleep with the car running and it ran out of gas, so. And then he needed the jumper cables because he didn't realize it was out of gas and just thought the battery needed jump. But I don't think he would go walking off. I think after he slept, he would sober up. I don't know, that's odd. And I'm scrolling down and pausing it in case you want to read more because I don't know. You think somebody would have found him? I mean, I don't know. I would have thought he would have slept. Even if he was did the drugs and relapsed, it seems like he would have slept in the car and then sobered up. And if other people saw them, then he saw them too. Wouldn't he have flagged somebody down? He wouldn't go walking in the woods to look for help to try to find somebody to jump his car. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. It still seems like something's not right because the battery's dead and it's out of gas. And he still would have slept it off enough to sober up after being awake for so long, it seems like. Especially if there was alcohol there, that would have helped him. I don't know. I'm not a drug expert because I don't know. But I just can't see him. I don't know. You never know. I don't know that much about drugs. And anyway, so there's pictures of him. And what do you think happened? I mean, what's your opinion on it? Do you know more information about it than I do? Do you have more information? And what do you think happened to him? Do you think he could have just, I don't know. Please leave your comments and I will read them when I get a chance. And please pray for his loved ones and his family and for them to have closure. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.